There is a moment that happens just before something shifts. Most people miss it, not because they are not paying attention, but because it doesn't look the way they expected it to. It does not arrive with fanfare or announcement. It doesn't come packaged in obvious signs that say, clearly, something is about to change. It arrives looking almost exactly like the moment before it. The same circumstances, the same waiting, the same quiet that has been there for months or longer. But something underneath it is different. Something in the atmosphere has changed. And if you have been feeling that recently, if you have sensed something shifting without being able to name it, this message is not a coincidence. Here is what needs to be understood about the way God moves before a major shift. He does not always announce it loudly. He does not always give you a detailed timeline or a clear map of what is coming. What he tends to do instead is prepare the ground, quietly, beneath the surface, in ways that are not fully visible until the moment the shift actually happens. And then, when it does happen, you look back and you can see it. You can see all the things that were being arranged, all the pieces that were being moved, all the preparation that was happening in the silence. But from inside the silence, it can be almost impossible to see. So why is this message being delivered right now? Because there is a specific kind of person this is meant to reach. Someone who has been in a season of waiting that has gone on longer than they expected. Someone who has been faithful in ways that have not yet produced visible results. Someone who has kept going, kept believing, kept showing up, and has recently started to wonder, quietly, whether anything is actually about to change. This message is for that person. And the answer to that quiet question is yes. Something is about to shift. Not eventually. Not in some vague future that feels too far away to matter right now. Something is already in motion, and it is moving in your favor. Now, here is something the Matrix does not want you to understand about the timing of shifts. The Matrix runs on a very specific kind of discouragement, one that is most effective right at the edge of a breakthrough. Not at the beginning of a hard season, when resistance still feels manageable. Not in the middle, when you have found a rhythm for surviving it. But right at the end, right when the shift is closest. That is when the pressure tends to be the heaviest. This is not accidental. The Matrix understands that the most effective moment to get someone to stop is the moment just before they would have arrived. Think about how many times in your own life you have stopped just before something was about to change. Not because you were weak, not because you lacked faith, but because from where you were standing, there was no visible evidence that continuing was going to produce anything different from what had already been produced. The road looked the same. The circumstances looked the same. The waiting felt exactly like all the other waiting that had come before it, with no particular reason to believe this stretch was any different. But what if the reason it felt the same was simply that you were still one step short of the moment where everything became visible? So here is what getting ready actually means in this context. It does not mean manufacturing excitement or forcing yourself to feel something you do not feel. It does not mean pretending the waiting was not real, or that the difficulty did not cost you something, or that you are arriving at this moment fully fresh and unaffected by everything that came before it. Getting ready means something quieter and more practical than that. It means positioning yourself mentally, spiritually, practically, to actually receive what is coming, instead of being so exhausted by the waiting that you miss the arrival. Because here is something that tends to get overlooked about breakthroughs. They rarely arrive when you are ready in the conventional sense, fully rested, fully prepared, with everything lined up perfectly. They tend to arrive in the middle of real life, with its real complications, and real exhaustion, and real unfinished business. The shift does not wait for you to be at your best. It comes when it is time for it to come. And what determines whether you step into it is not whether you are perfect, but whether you are present. Whether you are still in the room when the door opens. Now let's talk about what this shift actually looks like, because it may not arrive in the form you have been expecting. Most people, when they imagine a breakthrough, imagine one specific thing: a financial change, a relationship restored, a door that has been closed suddenly opening. And while the shift may absolutely include those things, it may produce exactly the visible, tangible result you have been waiting for. It often begins somewhere else entirely. It begins internally, in the way you carry yourself, in the way you make decisions, in a quiet confidence that arrives before there is any external evidence to justify it, a knowing that something has changed, even when the circumstances have not yet caught up. This internal shift is not a consolation prize for the external one. It is not something you settle for while you wait for the real thing. It is the real thing, or at least the beginning of it. Because the external shifts that last, the ones that actually change the trajectory of a life, rather than just temporarily improving its circumstances, are almost always rooted in something that changed on the inside first. The person who receives an opportunity and is ready to hold it is different from the person who receives it and loses it because nothing inside them had shifted to match it. God does not waste breakthroughs on unready ground. The internal shift is not separate from the external one. It is preparation for it. So what do you do right now, today, in the life you are currently living, to get ready for something that has not yet fully arrived? First, stop rehearsing the delay. Stop replaying the timeline of how long this has taken, how many times it felt close, and then did not happen. How many reasons there are to be skeptical that this time will be different. That rehearsal is not preparation. It is a weight that keeps you facing backward while the shift is arriving from the front. Second, start treating the shift as current, not future. Not in a way that ignores reality, but in a way that positions you as someone who is already in the process of receiving something, rather than someone still hoping it might eventually begin. Third, and this is the one that tends to be the hardest, let go of the specific form you have decided the shift needs to take, not because it will not produce tangible results, not because your desires and needs do not matter, but because the shift that is coming may be bigger, more layered, and more significant than the single specific outcome you have been focused on. If you are holding the door open for only one version of how this resolves, you may miss the version that was actually sent. Get ready for what is coming, not for the version you pre-decided it had to be. Now hear this clearly. The season you have been in was not wasted. Every day of waiting, every moment of faithfulness that produced nothing visible, every time you chose to keep going when stopping would have been easier. None of that was lost. It was ground being prepared, foundation being laid, capacity being built for something that required more of you than you had. When the season started, you are not the same person who entered this season. And the shift that is coming is not coming to the person who entered it. It is coming to the person who made it through. So get ready. Not because everything is going to be easy from here. Not because the shift means the end of all difficulty or the beginning of a life without resistance. But because something is moving. Something that has been building in ways you could not see, through a season that costs more than you expected. And it is moving in your direction. The waiting was not the story. It was the preparation for the story. And the part you are walking into now is the part that makes the waiting make sense. You have been in the storm long enough. You have carried what you were asked to carry through a season that had no guarantee of how long it would last or what it would produce. You showed up anyway. You kept going anyway. You believed even on the days when belief felt like the most irrational choice available. That is not nothing. That is everything. And what is coming toward you now is the answer to all of it, bigger than what the storm cost you, longer lasting than the season that produced it, and already in motion, whether or not you can feel it yet. If this reached you the way it was meant to, write this where you can see it. I am ready. Type it in the comments, not as a performance, as a declaration that you are still in the room, still present, still positioned for what is already moving in your direction. And if you have not already, subscribe, because this story is still being told, one chapter at a time, and you are not meant to miss what comes next. Until the next one, awakened choosers.